Do you believe that this old, rough and ugly clay oven can bake bread faster than many modern ovens today? In an age of shiny steel, electronic buttons, and temperature gauges accurate down to every number, in this place, people still trust an oven made of fired clay, fueled by charcoal, and operated by the experience of human hands. No screen, no switch, no tangled electric wires, only red fire, the smell of charcoal smoke, and the baker standing by the mouth of the oven before dawn. For hundreds of years, the tandoor oven has not only been for making bread, but has become a part of life here. Every morning, when the oven burns red, people stop by to buy bread to take home. People going to work grab breakfast, and the whole market also begins to wake up. The bread-making craft is passed down from father to son. The way of keeping the fire, controlling the heat, and baking the bread all lies in the hands of the baker. That is why this oven is still burning red today, not only to make bread, but to preserve the rhythm of life of an entire community. But the most special thing still lies in the heat inside that oven. Why can a traditional clay oven make tandoor bread so surprisingly fast? Why is such an old way of doing things still effective, even until now? Today, we will find the answer together. That special oven is not in a modern factory or in the middle of a crowded city street. To find it, you have to follow a small road into a peaceful village, where life still moves slowly as it has for many years. In the distance, a few rows of trees stand still in the early morning breeze. The sound of birds calling to each other on the rooftops, the sound of a dog barking from the end of the lane, the sound of someone's footsteps passing along the small road, all blend together into the familiar sound of a village morning. In that peaceful setting, the smell of freshly baked bread drifts from afar. There is no need to see the oven. Just by smelling the scent of cooked dough mixed with charcoal smoke, people know the fire was lit early today. The oven sits quietly in a corner of a small yard, beside an old wall stained by years of smoke. No large signboard, no fancy stall, only an old wooden table, a few sacks of flour stacked beside it, and the oven burning red from morning until noon. Charcoal smoke rises slowly into the sky that has just turned bright. The heat spreading out makes the air around the mouth of the oven shimmer lightly. The whole yard carries the very distinct smell of flour and charcoal. And so, that small oven quietly keeps burning red in the middle of the village, day after day. The clay oven, known as the tandoor, has been a cornerstone of culinary history for a very long time, standing as a silent witness to the unfolding of civilization across the vast landscapes of Central and South Asia. Emerging hundreds of years ago, its presence is deeply woven into the cultural fabric of these regions, where it has remained an essential fixture of daily life. From the bustling, narrow alleys of ancient marketplaces to the most secluded and distant villages, wherever the characteristic scent of cooking smoke rises into the air, one can find the enduring traces of this remarkable earthen kiln. The construction of a tandoor is a masterclass in functional simplicity, featuring a robust, rounded body with exceptionally thick walls, crafted from specialized clay that tapers toward a narrow mouth designed specifically to trap intense heat. As charcoal or wood burns fiercely at the base, the thermal energy gathers within the chamber, soaking deep into the porous clay walls until they glow with stored power. It is this thick clay insulation that truly makes the difference. Once the structure has been properly preheated, it retains high temperatures for an extraordinary amount of time, radiating warmth with perfect uniformity throughout the interior. Consequently, after the initial fire has been established, the oven can bake batch after batch of bread continuously without requiring much extra fuel. Unlike the horizontal ovens commonly utilized in Western traditions, this upright vessel is far more efficient at conserving energy. The heat is concentrated within a confined space, transferring directly into the dough the very moment it is pressed against the searing inner wall. Archaeological evidence dates the remains of such ovens back to approximately 550 BC. Yet, through many generations, the shape of the tandoor has hardly changed. People still light the fire in the early hours of the morning, standing beside the oven to bake bread just as their forefathers did millennia ago. For many families, the tandoor is far more than a mere cooking tool. It is a livelihood, the source of a daily meal, and the eternal fire that keeps the memories of an entire land alive. The creation of this bread begins with the most fundamental and familiar elements found in a traditional kitchen: simple flour, salt, pure water, and yeast. The process starts as the flour is poured into a large, well-worn container, sending a light dusting of white powder to drift gently through the air like a fine mist. Following a rhythm perfected by time, salt is added by hand with a practiced pinch, and yeast is sprinkled evenly across the surface. Water is then poured in slowly, its volume guided not by strict measuring cups, but by the intuition and steady hand of the baker's long experience. In this craft, there is no need for anything complicated or high-tech. Just a few basic ingredients are more than enough to begin a fresh, new batch of bread. In certain regions, a touch of yogurt or a golden drizzle of oil may be folded into the mix to ensure the finished bread has a softer, more supple texture. However, even with these slight variations, the heart of the process remains rooted in a philosophy of absolute simplicity. There is a belief among these bakers that the fewer fancy or unnecessary additions there are, the more clearly the authentic taste of the toasted flour and the primal essence of the charcoal fire can be felt on the palate. Sitting ready beside the dough is a small, humble bowl of black sesame seeds. These seeds are carefully spread in the center of the bread just before it is committed to the heat, where they toast to perfection. This final touch creates a very distinct, nutty aroma that greets the senses the moment the bread emerges glowing from the oven. From such humble and unassuming ingredients, this place skillfully produces dozens, even hundreds of hot, steaming breads every single day, filling the air with the timeless scent of a craft well practiced. The process begins as all the measured ingredients are placed into the mixer, where the paddles turn with a steady, rhythmic cadence. At first, the mixture is loose and shaggy, but under the constant pull and fold of the machine, the fibers of the flour begin to bond, transforming the mass until it becomes remarkably smooth, elastic, and supple to the touch. Once the dough has reached that perfect consistency, the baker carefully lifts it out and sets it upon a floured work table. Here, it is granted a necessary period of rest for about 40 minutes, a crucial window where the yeast awakens and begins its silent labor, breathing life into the dough by creating thousands of tiny air bubbles that will eventually define its interior structure. Following this initial pause, the baker moves with practiced speed to divide the large mass into individual portions, each weighing precisely 1.5 kilograms. To put that in perspective, every single piece is 3.5 times heavier than a standard loaf of bread found in an American grocery store. Simply holding one of these portions in your hands is enough to appreciate the sheer scale and solid presence the finished bread will possess. These hefty mounds are then left to rest and rise once more for another 1 hour and 20 minutes. Tucked neatly under layers of protective cloth, they sit in long, orderly rows on the table, quietly expanding in volume, while the heavy oven on the far side of the room slowly gathers its intense heat. Throughout this entire sequence, there is a profound sense of patience. No one attempts to rush the natural cycle, and no one is in a hurry to skip a step. The baker understands a fundamental truth of the craft. The dough possesses its own internal clock and needs its own time to mature. To produce bread of exceptional quality, one must simply wait for the right moment. Only when the dough has risen to its full potential and feels alive under the fingers is it finally ready to move on to the delicate shaping step. When the dough has risen enough, the baker begins shaping the bread. Each piece of dough is placed on a table, dusted with a thin layer of flour. The hands pat it lightly a few times, then turn it in circles and flatten it very quickly. In just a few seconds, the large piece of dough becomes a round, even bread. The edge is kept a little thicker so it rises nicely and stays firm and crisp when baked. The center is made thinner so the heat can go in quickly, helping the bread bake evenly. Those movements happen naturally, as if they have been done thousands of times. The baker does not need to look much. Just by touching the dough, he knows whether it is ready or not. After that, the baker uses a pointed tool to make small holes in the center of the bread. When the bread bakes, steam escapes through these holes, helping the middle not rise too much. These patterns are not only for technical purpose, they are also the personal mark of each baker. Some prick them in circles, some make shapes like a flower. Some work very quickly, yet every mark is neat and even. Finally, the finger is dipped in water, touched into black sesame, then spread onto the center of the bread. Each bread is lined up neatly on the table, waiting to be taken to the blazing hot tandoor oven beside it. The tandoor oven sits quietly in a corner of the small kitchen, old but familiar, as if it has been there for a very long time. Every early morning, the baker lights the charcoal again, beginning the work that has been tied to his family for many years. In this place, when the oven burns red, a new day also begins. At the bottom of the oven, charcoal burns bright red, slowly spreading heat throughout the inside. The flame rises in the middle, making the whole inner oven glow orange-red. The fired clay walls begin to heat evenly after many hours of keeping the fire. The crackling sound of burning charcoal echoes through the kitchen. Light smoke rises and slowly fades away. The air around the mouth of the oven is so hot that it shimmers as if distorted. The baker does not need a gauge or a clock. He only looks at the color of the charcoal, looks at the flame, and holds out his hand to feel the heat coming from the mouth of the oven to know whether the temperature is enough or not. When the oven is too hot, a little water is sprayed inside to bring it down to a more ideal level. Keeping the temperature right depends entirely on the baker's experience, and this is one of the most important parts of the bread-making process. In this place, temperature is not on a screen. It is in the eyes, in the hands, and in the experience of many years standing by the fire. When the tandoor oven reaches the needed heat, the baker hardly hesitates for another second. Each bread is lightly moistened on the bottom to create grip, then quickly brought close to the glowing hot oven wall. The movement must be firm and precise, because if he is slow by even one beat, the bread can fall onto the charcoal or bake unevenly. The baker bends deep into the mouth of the oven, pressing one bread after another until the wall is fully covered. This work looks familiar, but it always carries risk. The baker has to stand very close to the strong heat, and one small mistake can ruin the bread or cause burns. Each oven can hold about 56 large breads or up to 72 small breads at the same time. After the breads are pressed all around inside, a little water is sprayed into the middle of the oven. The steam meets the intense heat and rises at once, helping the bread keep its softness and not dry out on the surface. The mouth of the oven is then covered to keep all the heat inside. In just a few minutes, the pieces of dough begin to puff up clearly. The surface slowly turns golden brown. Characteristic charred spots appear, and a clear aroma of baked dough mixed with charcoal smoke rises out. This is also the moment when the baker must watch constantly. Off by only a few seconds, the bread can lose that perfect, just right taste. When the bread is ready, the oven lid is opened, and the baker uses a pair of long iron rods to remove each one from the oven wall. The breads that have just come out of the oven are still giving off thick smoke. The surface is evenly golden, marked with dark brown charred spots from pressing against the oven wall. The edge is slightly thick, puffed up, and lightly crisp. Just by breaking it in half, the crust gives off a soft cracking sound. Inside is a white crumb that is soft and airy, yet still chewy and firm, and still holding its warmth. From the outside to the inside, the bread has both crispness, softness, and a very humble aroma. Each loaf weighs about 1.5 kilograms, thick, solid, and filling for a long time. This is the kind of bread usually placed in the middle of the table for many people to eat together, tearing off pieces to share. Looking at the finished bread now, it is easy to understand why the people here wait every day for the fresh batches coming out of the oven. After baking, the bread is stacked in piles and taken to the local market. There, people buy farm produce and bring home this familiar bread for about $1 to $2, depending on the weight. Freshly baked bread is often eaten with butter and jam. Just tear off a large piece and spread a little melted butter on top, and it is already good enough. After a few days, when the bread becomes harder, people break it into large pieces to dip into hot soup or sauce. This bread can keep for about 10 days. So if someone has to travel far or needs to send bread by mail, this is a very suitable kind of bread. A simple food, but very practical and enduring, just like the life here. People say that the summer air itself is what gives this bread its special texture and flavor. Besides its distinct taste, the bread also carries meaning in local life. At weddings, the bread is often split in two to symbolize the bond between two families. Children are also taught to pick up bread that falls to the floor, so that not even a crumb is wasted. For the people here, bread is not only food that fills the stomach, it is also the result of labor, gratitude for food, and something that is always present in everyday life. The tandoor oven still glows with red charcoal in the corner of the kitchen, quietly doing its work the same way it has for many generations before. And the answer to that unbelievable speed lies in this very oven. The thick clay walls hold heat for a very long time. The heat is concentrated in a narrow space, then passes straight into the bread the moment it is pressed onto the oven wall. No complicated machinery, no newest technology. The bread still bakes very fast, golden, crisp, and fragrant. A very old way of doing things, but even today, it has never become outdated in its effectiveness. Perhaps that is why people still keep that fire alive, not only to bake bread, but to preserve a part of the life of the whole market.